If you've ever launched something in your styling business and immediately felt the pressure to change it or water it down from your initial vision because people started asking for something different, then this episode is for you. My client and today's guest, Carrie Harkin, built a color training system specifically for personal stylists, rooted in her years at the Nike Color Lab. And from day one, people were asking when she would offer it virtually. She didn't. And on today's episode, she shares what happened when she stuck to her vision and why it ended up differentiating her. This is the Six Figure Personal Stylist Podcast. I'm Nicole Achi, and this is a show for personal stylists building world-class businesses and setting the standards in their industry. We're talking all things profitable growth, thought leadership, and real client transformations, because the best stylists don't just edit closets, they shape culture. Welcome to the show. Hi, Carrie. Thank you for being with me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
All right, let's kick this off and tell the people what they want to know. Tell me where you're from and how you've been a stylist.
So I am based in San Diego, and it's always hard to answer that question. I've been in the fashion industry for over 20 years, but I've started my business. It's my fourth year in business.
Amazing. So I want to get into a little bit of your interesting background as we kick this off. Before you started your business, you worked at the Nike Color Lab. And I'm curious to hear a little bit about how that shaped the way that you think about color as a stylist and how it informs the work that you do.
So I went to school at FAT in New York, and then after that, I went back out to Portland, Oregon, where I was born and raised. And in Beaverton is Nike. So it's like the big man on campus there. Yeah, so I got the opportunity to work in their Nike Color Lab. They have lots of different divisions and everything, but this one in particular, the project I worked on was taking like their physical swatches and, kind of what their collection was around that season and making it into a digital catalog for the rest of the company, worldwide to utilize. And so immediately, like, I'm green, I'm new. The mentor who I was working with, the biggest thing I recognized immediately, it was about training your eye, understanding the depth and the different elements and all the intricacies that color is made up of. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, this is so like, are we really pulling hairs here? But it really made such a difference because the physical had to replicate onto the digital and, designing collections and all of these things around the marketing psychology, all of these different elements that the color was being used for, it mattered. And so that's where I really got all of my learnings from about color and just what it's made up of, the undertones, chroma, value, light, dark, all of these different things. And after that, I went on to be a buyer for many years, and then I went into personal styling. And having that knowledge just from the get-go was such a tool that I didn't realize how strong it was until I just kind of went through those years, because it really made me understand, okay, this is why this collection looks this way. This is what is going to work for this woman and maybe this man and not this woman. And it all connects and it all comes back to color a lot of the time. There's neutral, there's all of these different elements of color that having that knowledge it made me feel like I had a leg up from the beginning, because a lot of people in fashion, it's a lot about vibes. It's a lot about just intuition, and which I have that too, like, absolutely. But there's something to say of knowing these theories and this more technical side of things, because you can speak to it in a much more professional and expert way. And I just felt that always was an advantage.
I would assume too that like Nike is a humongous company and they're spending a lot of money on this. There's a reason. It's not
Yeah.
for no reason that Nike has
Yes.
a color lab.
Oh, yeah, they're their marketing geniuses.
Right.
So, number one, they're a marketing company really that just sells products, and so the color behind all of that is front and foremost, it's vital.
Yeah. When you became a stylist and started like, meeting other stylists, getting education from other people in the industry and sort of seeing what was out there after having had this experience, what did you feel like was incomplete or not accurate in the way that you saw color being talked about, given that you had this background?
Two things. One, I felt, again, I think the entry point for, becoming a stylist is very low. There's not really formal training for a stylist. There's not really a school or anything. And so, a lot of people are coming in with not a lot of experience but they're fabulous at what they
Right.
do. It's just that they don't have that technical background or that knowledge. And even talking with stylists that have been doing it for many, many years, after kind of talking about color with them, they'd be like, "You know what? Like, I get by. I kind of I can budget, and it's a little bit like fake it till I make it kind of thing, and it's fine, but I can never really, like, say with confidence when a client asks me, like, 'Why does this wash me out?' Or, 'Why are you picking that color over this color?' Like, 'Why should we do this over that?' Like, they couldn't really explain it in a way that felt confident. It was just kinda like, 'Oh, it just doesn't look good. Let's just do something else,' or, I don't know. It would just felt a little wishy-washy, so I always just there's that piece. And then the second part of that, just the industry as a whole when it comes to color and the teachings and trainings that are out there, it just felt like well, it is. It's more of just offering this one-off service. It was built in a different time for a different industry for just a different thing. And so now as personal stylists try to integrate it into their business, there's this disconnect. There's no integration being taught. It's this one-off thing. You're a color analyst, and this is what it is. There's often that gap or that break that just isn't there's no bridge.
There's no bridge, and that means also that you have 2 different industries in one. You have people that do color analysis, and then you have people that are stylists, and it created this, like, weird, like, 2 different camps almost. That is very strange as someone who's been in the industry for a long time. I've also thought of it that way.
It's a little crippling because the way that when I talk to other stylists who have taken those trainings, it felt crippling that they are being taught in a way that is dependent on this different systems that are just very disconnected and disjointed from their styling business. So it just felt very separate.
So you have been a stylist for we're in your 4th year, and you had this amazing fashion experience. You had this experience with color. You're in a good market for styling. What was it that you were really looking for when you went to personal styling that you weren't able to find in your past experience in the fashion industry?
The personal connection, that's number 1, always. I always think of it or when I talk to people, it's like, I love helping people, and my superpower happens to be clothes and fashion, and so that's my way of helping people. Buying and all these things, you're just so disconnected from the customer, and so this was just really boots on the ground, working with people one-on-one. That's and the creative aspect of it too, just kind of being in that more of that creative realm. But just working with people one on one, that was the number one thing.
It's interesting because I think you talked a little bit about that, like, intuitive side, which knowing you personally as long as I have, like, you clearly have that element to you as a stylist and as a person, like, you have that warmth, but you also bring with you from your experience as a buyer and from the industry of fashion, an incredible analytical mind I have seen. I don't know if other people get to see it as much as I do, but spreadsheets and numbers and those things, you really know how to do that, and I think that that marrying of the 2 has been an interesting thing as you build a curriculum. Why do you think so many stylists have such rigid views of the sort of color analysis industry either way? I feel like the answer is somewhere in that intuitive versus analytical
Yes.
split.
Yeah, 1,000%. Well, and I think it's also what we said too, like, it's just that it feels so
Yeah.
disjointed. Like, the way that it's taught is very rigid, and I think a lot of color analysts out there, not all, I don't want to make a blanket statement, but just from what I hear, like, they're very stuck in the way and, like, this is it. If you are not if you're not a winter, like, you shouldn't be wearing black. And it's just like, "No, I think anybody can wear black." Like, it's just it is very, like, kinda stuck in the way, and so that takes out that intuition, and that's what I think most personal stylists are just turned off from because it's just like, "Oh, that just kinda, like, dampens all of that intuition." And so, honestly, how I think about color is it's more about the knowledge of color. It's more about understanding the undertones, just having that color knowledge. The color analysis piece, that if you wanna use that and make that part of your services or part of your process, awesome. But if you don't, I think that's just as valid. It's just knowing that information, that's what you're gonna use in your conversations with your clients. That's what you're gonna use when you're shopping for your clients. That's really what I think is first and foremost. It's the knowledge, and it's training one-on-one on color. Like I said in the beginning, most personal stylists, they haven't gone to school. They don't know this. It's just one of those basic classes that I think anybody in the creative realm should be taking, and so that's what it's about.
It's also about something that you mentioned early on when you were talking about the Nike Color Lab, which is that they think a lot about the psychology of color because they are first and foremost some of the best marketers in the world. And as stylist, I think it's uncomfortable to think of yourself as like being the marketing team for your clients when you dress them, but you kind of are, if you think about it in a different way, trying to help them think about how they want to feel, how they want to show up. And color is a tool in that, whether you do it in this, how that looks is different for everybody. But if you want to talk about, and everyone listening here probably does, psychology and transformation and those things, you should probably know how that actually
Yes.
works.
There's so much psychology around color, and that's what I think is so interesting. I could go into so many different examples and different things, like how color shows up in people's lives and how they use it
Yeah.
subconsciously. That's why I think it's so interesting. So why not be conscious about it?
Yeah, it's like a superpower.
It is a superpower, and knowing your lovers when it comes to that, especially if your clients are, client facing on camera, not even, but even if they're just walking into a boardroom full of men, like all of these things matter, and you're not going to put them in, I don't know, a bright purple suit. Like it's going to be different for different audiences, and having got to know that if you're going to be advising your client.
What's interesting too is, and I wanna talk about your business a little bit, is that you do I mean, not only do you have color training for stylists, but you do color in your styling business. But talk to me a little bit about the way that you have integrated it in, because I don't, view you as a color analyst first. I never have. I've known you for a couple years now, 2 years, and I never got that impression. So, how do you use this in your services as a stylist?
Two different ways. So my styling clients who sign up for my styling packages, I kind of call it a foundational intro session, and I do a color analysis for them. But I think how I talk about it and how I approach it with clients is that's the difference. I talk about it very lightly, like it's this visual thing going through, the analysis, and that's what I think is powerful for clients. Then they see it firsthand, and then they get it, and like, "Oh, that's why I have this," and they'll go run to their
Yeah,
closet. "This is why I have a blazer I never wear because I always feel weird in
yeah,
it." They're like, "That's why, because it's not the right color." It just clicks for them, and again, it's something tangible that they can take. I don't really push it. It's just like a visual thing for them to understand, and yeah, okay, these are your best colors. When we talk about neutrals, this is where you wanna stick versus here. Like, we talk about all of that. And then I kinda leave it there. I'm like, "Wear what you wanna wear, honestly, and if you wanna wear this bright coral top and it doesn't do great things for you, these are the tricks you can
right,
do to offset it, and you'll be
right.
fine." It's just starting that conversation because that will take us through the process, and it's really sweet because most people, like, they keep bringing it up. They're like, "I get it now, like, I see it, like, this makes sense," and it's just yeah. 'Cause, most of our clients are analytical. They're not vibes and intuition. That's why they're hiring
Yes.
us. So, like, they need something, they need a framework to be able to grasp onto and be like, "Okay, I learned something today. Like, this is so informative, and this is the first 10 minutes that you're here."
Right, it sets this tone, and it's not what you lead with as a stylist. You still call yourself a stylist. You don't say, "I'm a color analyst." You say, "I'm a stylist that has this tool," and it is a tool that they get to have too and feel that agency over, which then makes them a partner because they understand they're not just trying to rely on your vibes, which they may not be vibing with at some point in the process.
Yeah, no, it's so many stylists have told me, they're like, "Oh, yeah, sometimes, like, the color thing, it can get tricky. Some of my clients kinda doubt me, and I don't know how to talk about it." And it's just like, "Well, yeah, that color knowledge and to be able to talk about it in an expert way, then
Yeah.
it could be different for you."
So
Yeah.
your business got up, like, and going for only being 4 years in now that I think about this. I'm like, wow, we by the time I met you, you were really off and going. So Carrie and I met because she did my accelerator program a year ago? Because we've been working together one-on-one for about 8 months now, so at least a year and a half ago, a year ago. And where you were pretty established, you were doing really well. Where were you in your business at that point, and what was it that you were looking to sort of up level?
I would listen to your podcast before we even talked. I found it and I followed you on Instagram and I just felt like you were really good at messaging and you were really good at communicating. And I was like, she's really interesting. I've worked with coaches in the
Yeah,
past at different times and I felt like they worked for where I was, but where I was when I wanted to work with you is like, okay, I'm doing pretty okay, but I want to push it to the next level. I want my messaging to be tighter. I wanna make sure that my pricing's on point. I just wanna tighten it up because I felt like, okay, I've kinda gone through those first couple of years. I understand kinda where I am, what I have to offer, and I just wanna package it and tighten it up. And that's kinda what I came into the accelerator wanting to get your points of view, but also I always love meeting other
yeah,
stylists like that and just kind of understanding their points of view and advice and where they were. So it was really about just like refining and tightening.
yeah, and we definitely upped your prices. We cleaned up your services pretty significantly, and I
Yeah.
would say that what was born out of it was a better business, but, like, a lot of people don't expect this is clarity on what was next, which happened to be a bit of a different direction.
Yeah. Well, I think I felt like, oh, I always, when I even started the styling business, I was like, oh, I want to create something that can be another arm of the styling business or something else that can maybe drive its own self kind of sort of in the future. Yeah, I'm just always kind of tinkering and thinking about the
Yeah.
next thing and, like, for pros and cons of it, but yeah.
So in Accelerator, we worked with the foundation, we upped the prices. You were already doing pretty well. Lots of people are listening to this and thinking like, "Oh, I want another thing." And we're gonna talk more in depth about this other thing, which is color training for stylists. But I often get on calls with people that are not where you were on when we had our discovery call, which was pretty steady income, heading towards 6 figures very comfortably, really high profit, maybe a little tired because you had a little bit too much on your plate. We needed to clean it up, but you were getting to 6 figures with or without me. That was very clear. And so when you think about what needed to happen to put in the time and effort to create this program over the last 8 months, what would you tell people who think, "Oh, like, you know, I'm not at consistent income with clients. I'm not getting the kind of people I want, but I also wanna do this other thing." Like, what would you tell them about what is gonna be ahead of them that they should know?
It's like a second job.
It ain't passive, that's for sure.
Well, it's not. It's definitely like starting another business, honestly. Like, it's in my training thing is integrated with my personal styling business, but it's a whole other
Right.
endeavor. So it's like a second job.
It's a whole
Mhm.
other client base, basically.
Yeah, yes,
Right.
exactly. A whole other messaging, like yes, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's would you say that having that one-to-one steadily in the background gave you
Yes.
the bandwidth?
Yeah. When we started working together and I was like, "Okay, I wanna venture off and do this other arm too," I was for about a year, I had been consistent with my clients, and that, I think, gave me the confidence to be like, "Okay, this is kinda just going on." I have to, of course, still work at it, but it was consistent, so yeah, if I didn't have that, I don't think I would have been as confident. I mean, like, "I need to figure this out
Yeah, because
first."
it's exciting to try something new, and I think you, like all of us in this field, are creative, and so, like, you're always thinking of new things and getting excited, but because I think you're so good with numbers too, you were looking at the things that mattered because it was gonna take attention away from, just the amount of work it takes to build out something new from, like, the one-to-one piece.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have all my yeah, you said it, I have all my spreadsheets and my forecasts out, and I really that's from my buying years. So, yeah, I think having that and knowing, like, what's coming and what to kind of plan for and forecast, that definitely helps a lot for me, at
Yeah.
least.
What would you say the biggest surprise has been as we've been So this is all Carrie's intellectual property for the record. This is not mine. She has created this curriculum, and then I've helped her like shape it and bring it out to the world, market it, think through all of the pricing, and basically building a second part of the business. Quite frankly, from a strategy perspective, what would you say the most surprising part of all of this work has been?
I think what you said, yeah, it's messaging to a different audience, and it's really chipping away at a different market, really. And also it takes time. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's surprising. I think I learned that from starting the styling
right.
business, and so it's like, okay, it's gonna take time again,
Yeah.
like, it's just gonna build it up and yeah.
It's hard to do something from scratch, even if you're excited about it, when you have mastery in another area, because you forget. You forget how
Yeah.
vulnerable and we've talked about this all the time, Carrie and I.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
rough out there.
I like to talk to you all the time. Am I crazy? Am I doing this right? But yeah,
And
there's
it's
that.
the sticking to it when it doesn't feel comfy, especially when you're used to having a successful business like you, and it's not I heard you say I have to work at it. You do, but I also want people to know that are listening that are not where you are in your one-to-one business. It certainly does not feel as much work once you get the plan right. It's it's not on autopilot. She still has to show up, but it's nowhere when it feels like, "I don't know how to make any money." It's not the same output. And you can bring a lot of the confidence that you have in yourself and your ability to show, "Oh, I can persevere through hard times," to this new building of the business. And once you get that in
Yeah,
one part of your life, you can bring it over.
bring it over. Absolutely. I think that's one thing I know about myself just in general is that once I start something, like, I'm like, I gotta keep doing it. I think that's always the thing, right? You just keep going.
Yeah, you
So,
do. I love that about you. I love that it's like you can have your meltdowns, but I never think you're in my box or saying, like, negotiating out of it with me. And I
yeah.
love that because you're my people. Like, it's okay to melt down, but you melt down, you go for a walk, you have a glass of wine, or you go for a walk. It's probably the healthy thing I should have said, and then you keep it moving.
Totally. Yeah, just keep going. I know. I think that's one thing too that I was talking about this with my son last night is, starting a business is, you become comfortable being uncomfortable. And, I I'm grateful that I'm at that point. I mean, I still have anxiety and,
Mm,
like, I don't know, sweaty
yeah,
hands
'cause you're not a
all the thing.
psychopath. You should. Like, that's normal.
But I'll do it.
Yeah,
And so
same. I
it's
have it
just
too, especially as I grow. It's, uh it's anxiety producing, but it's it's worth it. I can't think of a lot of things that I've experienced in life that were high anxiety that had as big of a payoff. Like, I think of jobs that were hard or anxiety, but, like, there
Mm.
wasn't a whole lot of payoff. You just had to deal with jerks or something. This is different. Yeah. Carrie has created this program for stylists that we've sort of touched on here that really is it's so fascinating to see it be born into the world because it really is a very modern take on color analysis, and it's a very doable take. As someone who saw this world for years and quite honestly never went into it, I was so afraid as someone with raging ADHD that I would never remember all of the colors and the seasons. And what if I got it wrong? And what if I didn't know if mulberry versus this other thing was right? And so when Carrie came to me and said, like, I want to build this, and I looked at what she was saying, I was like, this is what we all need because it's not overwhelming and it's so
Yeah.
valuable. So tell me a little bit about your process and some of the things that make it unique.
So my process, kind of what I mentioned before, is goes back to kind of my roots of just it's about training your eye. It's really about being able to it's funny because I might not know the names of every single
Right.
color, but I can tell you what's warm, what's cool. I can tell you all the
Yeah.
things. And so even if your client comes to you and it's like, I don't know, I have these two different purples, like which one should I do? You should very immediately be that one because that one's gonna make you look like crap. That's really number one. It's about training your eye. It's about understanding what makes up color so that you can speak to it in an expert way.
When you talk to stylists, because you did a bunch of market research before you started, what were some of the things that you heard from them when they were a little like, not sure about this?"
Those are my favorite people to talk
Yeah.
to because I just like, "What is the objections?" And a lot of them were like, "Well, couple of them are just like, I'm doing fine. I have a good business. I've been doing this for years. I don't really see a need for it. Um, and I don't know if I really want to be that color person. Like, I don't want to lead with that. And that was a big thing. I think that I heard a lot. They're like, I don't want to be known as a color
Okay,
analyst.
I'm
I'm
gonna
like,
pause
I
there
hear,
because I wanna get into this because this is what the internet wants to hear that no one's talking about. Let's just say what people mean because and here's the thing, I wanna disqualify this. Everyone's a big adult that's listening, they can handle their own feelings, but I think it's important whether you come from a more traditional color analysis world or you're a stylist listening and you're like, "Yep, that's me." Because that's a lot of my clients because of just how I am. I think I attract a lot more of that person that's like, "Nah, I'm good."
mhm, yeah.
What what is the "I don't wanna be that person"? Like, what do they mean when they say that?
Look, like Color Me Beautiful, like all of this stuff, it was created in the 80s. And so a lot of, not all, but a lot of women who are teaching trainings or nurse color analysts are from that time. And a lot of that stuff hasn't evolved or changed in the last how many years. So I think that's what they think. It's outdated and it's a bit archaic. And it's, I don't know, like these women walking around in like clown outfits because like it's color and
Right.
like it's all like, and it's like, but nobody
That's their
dresses
whole
like that.
personality is what you're basically saying.
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
there's not a lot of the idea on the outside is there's not a lot of sophistication. Now, do I know people that do color that do? Yes, but do they lead with it in a way that you would off the bat recognize it? No. Carrie is a perfect example.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, not because we're putting anyone down, but it's important to know in order to be successful in business what the perception is, not of everyone, but of the lowest common denominator. So you can decide, am I playing toward that or not? And I also think it's outdated and seen as outdated because, as I've heard for so many of my clients, the pricing structure is basically a structure in the not modern version of it where it is impossible to make real money and be a real businesswoman. And that is the outdated part that most of my clients
Yeah.
want nothing to do with.
So true. Yeah, and talking with, other stylists who have done other trainings, some of the business advice they were given in these trainings, they're like, "It's wild, like, it's outdated, it doesn't work for the modern stylist or modern business, and there's no way to sustain yourself just with how they were teaching." So, yeah, so I talk about all of that in the training also. I'm very transparent. This is what I price things at. This is where I put in my process, how I do it, and another thing we didn't talk about, I do, like, groups. Women love it, like, it's such a fun, like, party thing, like, people love it, and so I'll tell you, like, how I price that, like, how I structure that, and also I do, talks, like, style presentations and all of that for, like, bigger, like, corporate
Yeah.
groups, and so I do integrate that, like, as kind of a, interactive activity at the end, which is always a hit. So I'll tell you all about that too.
It fits into a comprehensive and modern business plan, and that is one of
Yeah,
the reasons why we were working together. And one of the things I've seen through the development of this is that, like, what is missing from the majority of color analysis programs, and I have worked with someone that's done at least multiple styles who has done almost every single one out there. And as a stylist back in the day, I had a lot of clients that did, color me, all those different ones. And I can tell you without a doubt that there are so many ways that people should be learning to use the tool of color analysis to build a multiple six-figure business as you have, like, in the way that you've done it, that don't look anything like and have in are not even in the arena of what people are teaching people out of those programs. So they're de-incentivizing people to want to feel like a modern and successful businesswoman with it, and it's too bad.
it really is. Because again, like, I think at the heart of it, and that's why, like, when I was thinking about this training and thinking about color analysis, like, years ago, um, I was like, "It's too bad," because the heart of color analysis and what it is extremely valuable. It's just how it's been packaged is unfortunate. Like, to your point, it's a bit of a detractor because it's like it's comes with all of these other
And I think
stereotypes.
also it's important to note that, like, we're saying the stereotypes in the world of personal stylists, which is a very context sensitive and savvy group. Like, stylists are stylists because they're reading rooms, because they have that sense. I'm not saying that everybody that encounters color analysis feels that way. There's plenty of people that are very busy making, an unlivable wage in color analysis. People there's a demand. There just isn't always the right fit for people that have a different bigger business plan. So the training is mostly about teaching stylists or is about teaching stylists how to take this knowledge and fold it into an existing styling practice. So you have to already be up and going,
Yep.
have to have clients.
Yep. Yeah, I think knowing, how your business and your process works, and kind of where the holes are might be, or where the opportunities are, I should say, is extremely helpful. So you're coming in with kind of maybe an idea, or just you're open. You're
Yeah.
open to what's being offered.
And you've already done one of these trainings, so tell me a little bit about, some of the ahas that the stylists who joined had, because it was so cool to hear from Carrie the next day. I was so excited.
No, I loved it. It just made me feel like, okay, there's a need for
Yeah,
this. Few of the stylists were very much those stylists that, been in business. They were like not really into it. They're like, cool, I'll come. I'm, I'm
open.
intrigued. I'm open, but they were not like really thinking like I'm going to make this part of my business. And I mean, within the first, I don't know, half an hour, like they were like, oh, they're like, okay, I get it. I understand why this is important to know, and it's valuable for just communicating to clients, all these things. Like it was just because I think, yeah, everyone gets hung up on, like, it's gonna be all about the fabric drapes, and it's all about this, and yeah, that's part of it again, but it doesn't ha that's not the essence of it. It's knowing how to train your eye to see the differences, and just understanding color. Yeah, so it was so interesting because at the end, I didn't even really push it. I create all my own drapes, all my, materials. I've created it all myself to be cohesive with my own method of it. Yeah, they all walked away with wanting to with their own drapes, and they just wanted all the things, and they're like all those stylists that I thought would be like, "Yeah, this is cool. Okay, see you later." They're like, "Okay, what do I need and how do I implement
Yeah.
this?" Like a couple of them, they're already integrated into their business. The one that was most against it, she texted me last week, like, "Okay, I'm gonna do an event and I wanna do the color thing." I'm like,
It's, like, literally paying for itself. That's what's so crazy about this is it's I mean, I think that that is how good trainings and when you are a professional, which is what you're giving people, this sense of professionalism that the industry really is lacking, is you're giving them tools that literally pay the bills, make you look so much more of an expert. That is not how this has been viewed. It's either been viewed as its own thing or, outdated, and it's neither. It is part of a bigger, packaging of being an expert, which means, Carrie's thing is not gonna fix it if you can't price yourself. She's not gonna be able to fix it if you can't do basic so, you need to know these things, and then this is where it starts to become a multiplier for you.
"Yep, 1,000%. Absolutely." I was thinking about it too, and this is a training, like, you can write this off, like, this is something that is, adding to your business, like, it's
Yeah,
definitely yeah,
yeah, there's a
yeah.
huge ROI on this. When one of the things we've talked about a lot because we worked through positioning this together and thinking through this, and one of the things that I have seen in the industry is the concern around AI, and I'd love for you to just share a little bit about your thoughts on why actually that has changed the seriousness with which you feel this needs to be a skill stylists have.
I think it's makes it even more serious and more should be top of mind for stylists because most of your clients have already been on an AI app. They've been doing it themselves and they might have gotten one answer, but a lot of my clients have told me, yeah, I did the AI thing. I've gotten multiple different answers. Like, I have no idea. Like, they're not, AI is not giving a straightforward, concise, decisive information. You need to be able to to speak to that. Like, when your client tells you, I did this, I don't even know, like, this is what AI said. And so you need to have that knowledge to be able to say, you know what? AI actually was not too far off here, but XYZ, keep this in mind. Or, okay, yeah, AI is all over the place. Like, let's get into it and let's narrow it down and give you answers. Because if you can't I mean, I just think of, like, this scenario of, okay, you're going to see a client, they're like, "I just did all of these AI apps, I don't really get an answer, like, what do you think I am? Because you don't offer co-analysis, but, like, what do you think?" And you're gonna be like, "I don't know, let's just like, your hair color's black, I guess red would be good for you, or your eyes are green, maybe you just like different greens?" Like, it's not giving them something tangible and something like, "Okay, I feel confident that she knows what she's talking about, and I'm gonna go with her instead of AI."
Critical, because as it gets better, that will be more and more of a thing that you need to be able to talk about. Because AI can't teach people how to navigate context with color. That's the other part of this.
Exactly, and how to utilize that and integrate it into your wardrobe, all of those things.
Yeah, I truly don't, and I talked about it before, I don't think stylists will ever be outrun by AI, but it is raising the bar for professionalism, because you just have to have the knowledge, yeah. So one of the things that you and I talked a good amount about is how this training was gonna work. And one of the things you felt very strongly about that I want you to share is why it has to be in person.
I mean, definitely when I first put it out there, lots of people were like, "Okay, when are you gonna offer this virtually? Like, I can't come to you, it's in person." And I just in my for my own values and just the integrity of the training and what I wanna offer to stylists, I can't in my right mind do a virtual training. It needs to be in person, at least the first time. You need to be able just to not get too scientific with it, but, like, how light reflects and all of these things, like, doing it virtually, you lose a lot of that, and so, yeah, you might get the ideas, but to really the training your eye and all of that stuff, it gets kinda lost, so you need to be in person, you really need it's a very tactile thing, you need to be in person, and and then I'm there with you going through the process, and I can help guide you, like, it just kinda gets tricky virtually, and so I really stand that it needs to be in person. I'm gonna try to make my different rounds, so, be in LA, but it's something that I feel strongly about, and the virtual thing, I don't know how that will evolve, but it's not anytime soon.
There's really something to be said for having standards in your business, and especially when you really stand for people hitting a next level of mastery, for saying like, "No, actually," and I say this because I think the industry has lost a lot of its in-person luster in a lot of ways. I think that I see a lot of the problems people have with
Yeah.
virtual, they just are not problems with in person. Now, that doesn't mean I think that people shouldn't have a virtual element to their services, but the other part of this is if you wanna be an in-demand stylist, people that will pay the money for it want a human body in their house or in their life or in their room or in their training, and that's never gonna end. So you have to be comfortable in person, and if you're out of sorts or you're a little rusty, this is a great place to get that training back because you're with your peers, you're practicing, you're training your eye, you're watching, and I think this is the thing about group programs that's so cool is you're learning however many people in the room, you're 10xing your learning because you're watching them, you're seeing their
Yeah.
mistakes, you're seeing their questions.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things, and that's another aspect, thank you for saying that, is um, that I feel so strongly about is this is an opportunity to get together with your peers. You know, we're always so much on our own little island doing our thing, and we're like, oh my God, are we doing this right? Like, what are you doing? So, this is a great way to get in the room with other stylists. That was one big thing that all the stylists in my last training said. They're like, I just really loved being in the room and just talking with other stylists. And they just talk about whatever, their business and what's working, what's not working. That community, that I know when people left that training, they were on a high was because of that. And you don't get that virtually. You get little elements, but it's not the same thing.
No, and I've thought a lot about this too, like, there is something too right now about in-person being the new luxury, and that's and having this sort of knowledge and information is also a new wave of luxury, and I think it's gonna be critical for stylists that wanna succeed, so everything about it is in integrity with what you're trying to create, and it's been so amazing to watch you do it, so thank you for letting me be a part of
Oh
it.
my gosh, Nicole, it wouldn't be happening without you.
So if people wanna hear about when your next training is, I know we got some West Coast, East Coast action happening in the next year or so. We will put a link in the show notes so you can connect with Carrie, I'll also put her Instagram handle down. That's probably another great way to stay in touch. And I want to end it with a question that I love asking stylists in this. What are you most excited about for the next, let's see, you've been in business 4 years, next 4 years of your business? What are you most excited about, Carrie?
I'm excited about this training. I'm really excited to grow that and just have stylists be more aware of it and know that it's available. That I'm first and foremost most excited about, but I'm also really excited about my clients, my personal styling clients, and getting to grow with them and getting to meet new clients and just all of that. That's the heart too. I think that's why it's all I want to be in person. I just want to meet you and I want to be around you. And I
Yeah.
just am excited about all the people and the connections.
Yeah, if you're listening to this thinking Carrie has amazing energy, you would be right. And I'm excited to be in one of those rooms too in the not so distant future. So come and join us. We're gonna have the best time, and gonna redefine what it looks like to be killer at color because the industry needs it.
Gosh, please. Yes. Please, let's make it better.
Thank you for being here, Carrie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It turns out that social proof is actually pretty important, so if you could help me out, I'd so appreciate it. If you just had a quick free moment and could leave me a rating or review on the podcast app, that would be killer. And even better, if you wanted to share this episode on Instagram and tag me, that would totally make my day. And it would bring so much more awareness to the podcast and would help other stylists just like you who are looking to build lucrative styling business, because the better each of us does, the better all of us do. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll chat with you next time.